Nation man, Tuatara, if you want 15% off, use code PADDYCAT15. Ladies and gentlemen, it is the Tuatara Championship round 9 here at Portugal. We do have Zach with us today. Sorry, I had a bit of a moment there, of course, with the video. How are you doing, Zach? Are we ready for round 9? Don't even mention the word, mate.
Through the field as well. So yeah, let's bring it on.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Hopefully we can hear you now. Sorry, the stream couldn't hear you there. But yeah, like you were saying, hasn't been on the calendar for a while. It's a very historic track. A lot of inclines and different cambers involving in this track. And it is one of what seems to be a rare track these days, going back to actual race tracks instead of what we're seeing in the future right now. We're seeing a lot of street tracks. So it's really nice to get these sort of tracks, especially within this sort of league.
Yeah, absolutely. To have these sort of, the niche circuits as such. I mean, a couple of seasons ago, we've had Shanghai in the games for a while, which hasn't, been on the calendar as such. Fortunately, Portimao is actually a good circuit and, is also in the games. Unfortunately, as we say, not on the calendar, but it's a proper race venue, right? The races that we had, obviously, over the course of 2020, I believe it was there in 21, maybe. Don't quote me on it. But the races that we did have at Portimao were nothing short of absolutely sensational. So, yeah, really looking forward to seeing what racing that we have got out here today, because, plenty of overtaking opportunities, heavy braking zones, that hairpin down at turn number 5, probably going to be the big one. But also, it's just a fun track to drive with as well. It really flows quite nicely as a driver in Formula One machinery, really allows you to sort of prove yourself as such, and with plenty of overtaking opportunities as well, should open itself up to be both a good qualifying and a good race. More importantly, though, it's what's at stake.
Exactly that. Going on to what's at stake then. The leaderboards out there tonight. Let's take a look after round... Oh, sorry, wrong one, mate. Wrong one. There we go. That is your leaderboards there. After round 9, Brazil, as you can see at the top there, 153 points. Carlson, and I believe if he outscores Flores today, he could take the championship, right?
Yes, so he's going to need to outscore him by 12 points. No, hang on. That's not right. No, it is 12 points. I do apologize. Obviously, 25 for a win, plus 1 for fastest lap. At the moment, the gap is 14, as you can see. So a 12-point lead going into that final round will allow him the 26-point gap that he needs. I believe that he will win on comeback with more wins. So that's going to be the case. For Menta, though, he needs 13. Effectively, what that means is Flores needs to finish P4 with Carlson winning, neither of them taking the fastest lap, and Carlson will be the champion. What Flores needs to do is win this race to make next week in Spain winner takes all.
Exactly, and what a showdown that would be. But today is today, and the battle for third is heating up as well. You've got Nathan Clark, Slapbus, Oyster, and Curse all within a chance of still getting that third place. So we've got a bit of a fight on the hands there for the last places of prizes. So keep an eye on Slapbus, Nathan, and Oyster, and Curse out there tonight because they're going to be fully sending it today as well. But we're out there in qualifying right now, and let's take a look at what they're doing so far.
Yeah, so getting themselves out on circuit. Again, just trying to put some rubber down. It's maybe not a circuit that they're overly familiar with. As we say, it's not often that you come to Portimao as a circuit on your calendar. So maybe it's a circuit these guys are less well versed in, which means that it could take them a couple laps just to build up confidence, bed themselves into the circuit again. But already, we've not even seen the first full wave of lap times down, and we've already lost nearly 6 minutes of the session, a third of the session, and we're only now getting people towards the tail end of their first lap, which means timing is going to be critical, and 18 minutes at the end of the day isn't actually a lot to put in some good lap times.
Yeah, especially with the cambers of this track can really unsettle the balance of the car, so getting it right, you've got to be full focus. Pretty busy track out there at the minute. Sloshy in the Williams on a hot lap at the minute, coming through sector 3. He's going to be putting down his first banker lap time. At the minute, the provisional pole is a 1:16.198, but we expect that to come down. There is sources coming in that there may be a wet race here today at Portugal.
Maybe. Of course, we did see a little bit of rain that spiced things up last week at Interlagos. Of course, that standout finish between Floris Vyers and Nath Clark is one that, yeah, I definitely won't be forgetting for a while. Pricey, unfortunately, already out of this session. Not entirely sure as to what's happened to him there, but will be taking no further part in qualifying. But wet race here at Portimao, so unfamiliarity, number one, here at Portimao, which is going to make it difficult in of itself. Add in a little bit of rain, and well, yeah, I think we've got a recipe for what could well be a very important race. And I believe we had Austria, we had Silverstone. This would be the 4th race of the season that's been affected by rain.
Just to let you know, 2 of the top runners, Floris and Carlson, which you can see the pressures on both of them invalidating their first hot lap of today. So maybe there's pressures there for both of them today.
Well, I mean, yeah, for Floris, effectively, he needs today to keep his championship alive. P2 will see that gap grow to 21 points. Mathematically, it's possible, but the standard both of those drivers have been driving to, particularly Carlson, it doesn't end his championship hopes, but, you know, it puts one extra nail into the coffin, and all it needs is that last one in a week's time when we head to Catalonia. So for Floris, you know, the pressure's on. For Carlson as well, the pressure's on. We said all the way back in Zandvoort, Floris coming in as the star driver, as the big name to come and take the fight to some of these drivers. Carlson, as that reigning champion, has that pressure to uphold the integrity of this championship. Are these guys what we try and hype them up to be? Is Carlson good enough to take the fight to an ex-F1 esports driver? Of course, he's had that pressure, and today, he's got an opportunity to put that to bed. He's got an opportunity to mathematically take the championship. Of course, the pressure's on.
Exactly that, yeah. So just seeing the Ferrari then of Will Mitchell, one of the reserves in the Ferrari today, a 1:17.282. Quite a few reserves out there today, so thankful that they're coming in. Of course, as you get towards the end of the season, you do see a little bit of a drop-off in commitment, so it's good to see a lot of the reserves coming in today and making the numbers up to make a race out of this.
And an interesting point actually been brought up by Pricey in the Twitch chat in regards to compromise. We spoke about the possibility of a wet race. Now, knowing that in qualifying, do you prioritise qualifying and go for a dry setup, albeit, you know, a lot quicker, lower to the ground, a little bit less aero, faster in a straight line, and overall quicker around the lap, but then sacrifice yourself in the race? You know, you've got less aero, less grip, lower to the ground, more likely to aquaplane. So it's that balance. Do you prioritise qualifying? Do you prioritise the race? How important is that track position going to be? And for some of these drivers, that could well affect the running order going into today. But it also means if that weather update isn't 100% accurate and we don't quite get the race these drivers were predicting, we have definitely got a bit of a shake-up in order. Carlson into the pit lane again and still yet to set a lap time.
Here's Banana then using his teammate just to get a bit of a tow as they come through sector 2 here. Both Hasses. Ooh, I tell you what, there's been a nice little save from the Haas. I'm not sure his teammate was giving him the best help there through Oliver James, as he is on a hot lap, is Banana. Banana coming through the last sector then. I don't think it's going to light the timing boards alight, but it will be a banker lap for him unless he just has enough of that and comes in. But we'll see as he comes through the last bend here. And he is going to put that banker lap in. And he goes 5th fastest, a 1:16.8. Still Oyster with provisional pole here that he set right at the start of qualifying, a 1:16.198. Yet the time to beat.
Yeah, beautiful lap time from Alster, it must be said. I mean, he sat there in 5th in the championship, not a million miles away in that fight for 3rd. It is mathematically doable for the McLaren. We've touched on how close that fight for 3rd is in the championship a number of times over the course of this season. As it stands, Nathan Clark, with an impressive run of form, 2 second places on the bounce, both at Saudi and at Interlagos, looking incredibly strong there in P3. Did want to just shout out Banana as well. We saw his bank lap time put him to P5. For a driver that has, of course, he's on controller, which is difficult in of itself to go up against some of the best on a controller. Obviously, he didn't quite have the best race at Interlagos, I'll tell you that for free. But as a driver that really values points, and, at the start of the season, a points finish was something to celebrate, he's actually, been able to get himself 11 over the course of the season. And to be sat right in the middle of the pack at the moment and, really amongst the mix, I mean, he's only a couple of tenths off a front row as things stand. Can't deep it too much, but yeah, Banana, very, very impressive driver. Same too with Alster, to be fair. It will be very interesting to see when Carson and Floris Vyers both put in their first competitive lap times, though.
Exactly that, just riding on board with Floris right now, who's going to be launching himself into this hot lap. He's got to get it right here, 7 minutes to go. Zach, talk us through this one.
So into turn of 1, it's all about commitment. You've got to chuck it through 6th gear. You can see a little bit hesitant on the throttle, just trying to build it up. And again into turn number 3, braking zone down to 2nd gear, build up the throttle, uphill incline. Very difficult to get the traction as the track sort of tilts away from you ever so slightly on the apex. So you've got to slowly build up that power. You get time to breathe for just a second. Downhill braking zone, looking for the 100 board and using the camber of the circuit to really rotate the car. Once again, tentatively building up the throttle response as you climb your way towards this double right-hand sequence, flat through the first one, immediately on the brakes for the second. Again, uphill, changing degree of camber in the circuit. So once again, very difficult to build up the throttle. Up the hill, flat out through the left. Keep it tight to the left, still running out really wide. Late apex into here to maximize your exit. Keep it to the left-hand side, just hug it nice and tight. Up the hill once again, use gravity to assist you with later braking. 3rd gear to maintain that minimum speed. Bring it out, swing it to the left, flick it through. A little bit of a downshift, just again to get that bite, get some more weight on the front, engine brake a little bit, point the nose in, and then towards the final corner. All about commitment here. The track rises and then decompresses, so the grip constantly changing up over the crest, plateau towards the line. Is it provisional pole? And yes, it is a mid-15.
A 1:15.6 and the first driver in the 1:15.6. Floris putting an absolute marker down with 6 minutes left to go of qualifying. And Carlson knows what to beat now out there. The times are coming thick and fast. Curse did actually get a pole with a 1:16.1. But my gosh, Floris comes in with a very tidy lap. A 1:15.6, 6 tenths quicker than anyone, 5 tenths quicker than anyone out there at the minute. But what can Carlson do now as he comes through the last bend, putting the pedal to the metal? And the Aston Martin driver is going to get a... Oh, it's a 1:15.9. And I tell you what, Floris dominating out there.
Yeah, he is. A sensational lap time then. Of course, still time for things to change. But Carlson not really doing himself a ton of favours. Again, to be fair, neither did Floris, in the sense that they've both left themselves really late. Their first banker has come in with 5 minutes of the session to go. Carson's going to have to come in, recoup, fresh set of tyres, and go again. If there's one thing Carson is really good at, though, it's last lap, miracles. We saw it at we didn't see it at Silverstone. That is the one example where we didn't see it from Carson, i.e. forgetting to change the brake balance going into the final corner. But usually from Carson, it's the last lap in qualifying where he really delivers. But then again, recently, Floris hasn't been too bad at that either. So these final 4 minutes of qualifying are going to be exhilarating to watch, because they could well set the tide for that very, very close championship battle.
Nathan Clark then battling for that P3 in the championship with 2 races to go. Goes 6th fastest with a 1:16.338. As you can see right now, a lot of guys within a couple of tenths with each other. And this qualifying session could be quite crucial here. If it's a wet race, overtaking opportunities could be limited. And I suppose it's there just to... qualifying is just going to be even more important, as there'll be no DRS if it is a wet race. So 6th place for Nathan so far. Does he have time to get in and out? Ooh, it's going to be touch and go for him for sure. But a lot of drivers in the pit lane waiting for that last moment to get out, to get that optimal grip from the track, from all that rubber down, and it's just a matter of who is going to be the last one out there to get that optimal track temperature, track grip, and who's going to be that last one over the line. I think they're all going to be going at once here. It's looking like it's going to be a last 3-minute shootout with a very, very busy track ahead of us.
I think so, and getting space is going to be really important. Not a solo qualifying session. It's not a time trial. You're not isolated on the track. You are influenced by other people. I know that's obvious, but obviously in some sims that is the case. You have the entire track to yourselves. In the F1 game, it emulates a real-life Formula 1 qualifying. There are other cars on track that you have to contend with. You are not completely down to just how quick of a lap time you can put. It's the prep. It's the setting yourself up, making sure your tyres are up to temperature, making sure your brakes are up to temperature, making sure your battery is charged. It is not just a case of driving the lap quick. It's also everything else around it. The timing, leaving the pit lane, making sure you've got the right setup on all the conditions. So many different factors that come into it. And right now, with such a hectic track, timing and awareness and planning are all going to be factors that, you know, are going to influence the pole position. Because great, so, you know, I'm not going to throw Astra under the bus here. Great, Alistair might be really quick on a lap, but if he's brought himself into his final lap in traffic, he's not going to be the one setting the fastest lap time. Whereas, say, Slapbus, if he's out on the final lap and he's a quarter of a second slower per lap, but he's able to get a clear track, maybe get a little bit of slipstream. No, he's not the quicker driver, but he's going to be the one that puts in the quicker time.
Well, Oyster, it seems like Oyster's doing another outlap, so he seems to think that the grip comes to him on that second run. As you can see, he's not on his outlap, but now he's starting with 100% ERS. So doing that extra lap of warming up those tyres could be the way out there. Like I say, he's got himself a 1:16.1, a really great job so far. Puts him provisionally on the second row of the grid, and with that extra lap, is he going to get that extra grip as he comes through sector 1 now? What is he looking at? He's got yellow flags ahead of him, but hopefully that should be cleared up. He is 2/10 up on his time in sector 1. Oyster is enjoying himself out there.
He is. He's found his own. Purple to the first sector. He's got to keep this momentum up, though. Continuous gains as it stands, just shy of about 5.5 tenths off the provisional pole time set by Floris, which, by the way, is subject to improve. Alster could be in for an absolute worldie of a lap if he's able to. Running a little low on fuel, but that's perfect in qualifying. Lower weight, the car's more responsive, a little bit more punchy on the exits of corners. 1 minute 15 left to go. So, of course, those that are now starting their laps, this will be their final run in qualifying. If you're already on a lap, you might well be able to get another one in. Alster, though, one more corner left to go. Let's see if he's found some improvement to, at the very least, see him ahead of Curse.
Exactly that, and I think by going out an extra lap, he's left himself with a nice track ahead of him, and he does go 1:15.82. That is a fantastic lap in the 1:15s, and he splits the two championship rivals. Oh my God, great lap from Oyster.
Yeah, sensational stuff. His final one of the session. It's going to be purely to the mercy of Floris Vires, of Carson, of Curse, as to whether or not they improve. Curse at the moment on his lap, about half a tenth slower.
Look what he's coming to, Zach. Look what he's coming to. Look at the traffic ahead of him, all trying to get space. Hopefully it'll be gone by then. But these guys going on their hot laps, they are indeed in front of a very, very busy track, and that could upset the balance, especially with the different gradients out there.
Yeah, exactly that. I think Carlson just has been able to maximise his timing here. 13 seconds on the clock, and he crosses the line to start his final lap. His previous one was invalidated. This is his do-or-die shot for pole position on his championship-defining day. He needs to make sure that he, of course, sets the perfect lap time. Floris Vires out there, goes even quicker, just shy of a tenth of a second quicker to the first sector. However, traffic to contend with both Ferraris and Aston Martin and his teammate, should that be the case. Checker flag is waved. Final lap in qualifying. Curse is out there actually to set another lap time, finds even more time to sector 1, but unfortunately doesn't improve. I don't think he's committed on that lap time. So it's down to Carson, it's down to Floris to set the grid.
It is indeed. So Floris then going faster through sector 1. He does have a Ferrari ahead of him. He's not quite got the sector 2 right there. He's actually now below his fastest time. Can he put it together a little bit more through the Sector 3? The plus side of that Ferrari in front of him, he may get a little bit of a slipstream to just slightly improve on Sector 3, but it's all about now. Will it be enough for Flores? It's a 1:15.626. Is it improvement? It is a 1:15.16 dead, but we've got to go straight on to Carlson here, who does not go pole position, does improve, puts Oyster down into the second row, and it's the two championship rivals are going to lock out that front row unless we see an upset.
Yeah, I think that is going to be qualifying drawn to a close. Sensational lap from Flores just to seal the deal because, well, actually, no, his previous lap time would have been enough for pole anyway. But very, very close in qualifying. Two championship rivals on the front row together. This is going to be a story of a lifetime, I'm sure.
Top 10 separated by 1 second. Great stuff from everyone out there. That battle for P3 for the championship with 2 races to go. And guess where they all are? They're all amongst each other. So keep an eye out for the race next up at 50% around this Portugal circuit, which I believe may be a little bit of rain.
Let's see. Of course, it all depends as to whether or not the beautiful meteorologists of the Twitch chat, know what they're talking about.
Well, they know more than us, apparently.
They do. Of course they do. Of course they do. Mate, they honestly, we'd be out of a job if those guys decided to take up commentary because they know so much more than we do. But yeah, we'll see.
Apparently, it's full wets.
For those, full wets. Even
full wets
then,
at Portimao. Wow,
that's going to be a quick change. A lot to adapt to.
How do you build this mindset now? Like, you've done a qualifying, you've put it on pole, the risks that come with the rain, especially at this sort of track. How does that, with so much at stake, you've really got to focus your mind now and really interchangeable conditions. Will it be wet for the whole race? Will we see improvements? Carlson, Flores has to win this race. He has to win this race. He's done the first part, but he knows that anything can happen in the rain into turn 1. He's got to be a little bit cautious, but still stay ahead, right?
Exactly. And that's the thing. When there is so much at stake, building up confidence slowly, but you also have to dive straight into the deep end and be quick. It's almost a case of you need to build into the session slowly, but you also need to be straight up onto the pace. And you can't have it both ways. So as a driver, it's like, do I take risks and go for it on the first lap? Or do I be a bit more conservative, run a risk of falling backwards, but play it safe and try and play the cautionary card and try and guarantee myself some decent points, or take that maybe for some better ones. But I'm sure we'll find out, of course, at the moment on Inters.
So intermediates then, let's have a little look. Let's go into the game as we see a formation lap underway. No problems on the formation lap, but let's hope and pray that we go straight into this. And this could be, I don't want to say it yet, Zach, just in case we jinx ourselves. I'll wait till after the start. But let's get into the gameplay.
Yes.
Yeah, let's wait.
There's the wait. They're underway, and there's no issues.
Just,
touch wood, for now.
Let's talk about tyres.
Yeah.
Let's talk about tyres. All on Inters. So it looked like it was a bit puddly out there. You see the puddles out there that could cause a bit of, shall we say, aquaplaning, but it seems that Inters is the choice for the drivers out there. No one gambling on those full wets. Will we see it dry up in the end? It's going to be an exciting race. I do like a bit of rain. It does spice things up, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Of course, when it comes to the choice of Inters versus wets, obviously for those unfamiliar with tyres as such, the slicks, it's all about maximising that contact point. Ideally, the only 4 contact points the car will have with the road are the tyres. The tyres then obviously make grip, they determine how fast you can carry through the corners, and that rubber needs to maximize the surface area in order to maximize grip. That's why slicks have no grooves, because any grooves are millimeters of area where there's not rubber touching the circuit, which is why slicks obviously take up the full range of the surface of the tyre to maximize the contact patch. In the rain, however, it's a little bit trickier, because obviously you've got the track and then the layer on top of it, the standing water we call it, obviously puts a barrier between the surface of the tyre and the surface of the road, which means you have to have something to get rid of that water that's in the way so that the rubber that is on the tyre can contact the surface and give you some grip. That's what we have treads, and you'll see that the different patterns in the inters to the wets. The inters, slightly less aggressive tread grooves because there's not as much standing water to get rid of, so you can have a little bit more of a trade-off. Whereas if we see the full wets, you'll notice, similar to like a road car, there's a lot more tread on the tyre to maximize getting that spray off. I think it's something like 60 litres at 300 kilometers an hour per second per tyre. That's a lot of water getting out the way. But yeah, that's why they've all gone onto the inters, is to maximize the surface contact patch of the tyre versus how much standing water there is. This race start, though, is going to be fiery.
It is indeed, and already we've got the 5 red lights here at Portimao. It's wet, the rain is coming down, and we are underway. It is go, go, go! And we're away. A little bit of a glitch there, but we are underway. And Flores gets a really good start. Carlson filtering in behind, and it looks like they're going to be single file from first to third. Braking as we see the Mercedes go on the inside of the Aston Martin as they go through side by side. The Mercedes going to have the inside line. Into third place he goes, and Flores does get away well. Carlson fills through. Oyster having a great start as well, having a little sneaky look on the inside of the Aston Martin, trying to put a little bit of an upset here. Oyster is going for it still. Side by side, we see the Aston Martin still fighting with the Mercedes for fourth place. Carlson has a little bit of a slip there. Now he's fighting with his teammate. Oh my God, fantastic start. And all the while, Carlson is thank you, job done. He's got away from the start.
Yeah, Forest Fires making the most of that start. Crucial stuff for him. Auster, what an overtake to send that Aston Martin in deep. The pressure is there for Carlson now. He is under threat, not only from his teammate. He's lost a place. He's now out of sync. He's out of rhythm. He's lost his composure. He needs to regain it, get back to speed, and get back after stuff. Curse side by side with Slapbus going through the long right-hander, down back through the hill, and it's all changing lap by lap, corner by corner. They're going to be learning more and more about this circuit, and it's about adapting as quick as you can. Sloshy there to put some pressure on as well, but crucially, lap number 1 and a 1.6 second lead for Flores Fires. Carlson once again launching a counter-attack on Oyster, but trying to make up for lost ground. He's already 2 seconds on the back foot.
Now, if you remember, Carlson has shown that he's fairly good in the rain, but it's not the start he wanted out there today, and now he's got to play catch-up with Oyster really not letting him go.
He's really not quite close enough into turn of 1 to have a look, but definitely still putting the pressure on, not letting Carlson out of his sights. Again, Auster's got his own championship to run.
Curse and the Ferrari! Curse and the Ferrari! So the Ferrari and Curse have come together. They were both looking like they were going wheel to wheel, and I think they collided with each other. And of course, as soon as you upset these cars in the wet, you're both going off. And unfortunately, Curse is in that battle for P3, and that's not what he wanted at the start of the race. We've got Will Witchell with the penalty already. And my God, things are happening at the back. We'll ignore that for a minute.
Yeah, more stuff going on. A couple of spins in the background. I believe that's what we were trying to avoid looking at. But yeah, very chaotic. Will Witchell on the inside of Phantom. That's up the hill through the right hand. A huge snap of oversteer. Difficult enough in the dry, let alone when it's pouring down with rain. Goblin there as well. Now, of course, got Curse on his inside. It now becomes the outside going into this long double right-hander. It's all about dancing with the grip. Beautifully done from Curse. Managing the car. Just, again, tiptoeing his way around, finding the grip, and finding his way up into 9th place.
Yeah, not only that, he's taking a little lunge on the inside. Will Witchell, once again, struggling with the rears, has just allowed the Mercedes to take a little look as they collide wheel to wheel. The Mercedes is going to try the switchback, and Will Witchell is all over the place, struggling with the rear tyres, and Curse has got back in front and is now in P8. That was really good work there from the Mercedes to avoid all of what was going on there.
Yeah, really great stuff showcased, and just trying to make sure that he keeps himself out of trouble more than anything. Style, I should say, in the Alfa Romeo, trying to find their way past Will Witchell, not quite close enough, however, still side by side into turn 3. It's Sile on the inside, however, huge spin for him, and loses the place to Will Witchell, who once again, just by keeping out of trouble, stays in position, not taking too many risks, not sending ambitious moves. And he's not lost any ground.
Oliver James has retired into the pits. Oliver James took a full-time seat in the Tuatara. Not really gelled himself within it, has he? I think he's a little bit off the pace. and he's not enjoyed himself out there today. But Oyster then now behind Nathan Clark. Nathan Clark, as we know, battling for that P3, and so far in a good position. The two Aston Martins are tipped to win the Constructors, of course, which we haven't got the leaderboards up for you today on that one. But no, Oyster now down into 4th place, and he just had a little bit of a wobble, which allowed Nathan there to get ahead of him on that stage. So now can Carlson now selling himself in and see if he can get on the back of Flores. 2.1 seconds is the gap, as you see, as they come through the straight there. And Carlson, good answer. 129, pretty much dead. He is wanting to close that gap.
He is, and obviously slow start, which happens. Again, Flores was able to immediately set into the conditions. Some drivers can, some drivers can't. Carlson had to bed himself in. Took him a couple of laps. He lost a bit of ground because of it, but now he's a couple of laps in. Ignore that massive bit of oversteer from him. But now he's settled into the race. He can slowly build up his confidence, find his groove, find his rhythm, which is all it is in the rain. You know, obviously there are different driving techniques that really do help in finding the grip, but the bottom line is, lap by lap, you're going to learn more and more about the circuit. You're going to learn more and more about the grip, and you're going to be able to find your way through fairly easily. And now he's trying to settle in, get after his champion rival, and try and put some pressure on. I think we've had some issues at the back. Yeah, the Alfa Romeo of Sile, unfortunately, down in 15.
Yeah, just watching Will Witchell and Bumble. Bumble's really, Will Witchell's really struggling out there. His car just does not look balanced at all. Whether or not he's gone for a dry setup, whether the weather says that it's going to dry up, and that's why he's struggling for grip out there. But he's trying his best to defend. So far, so good against Bumble. Bumble was upon the inside at one point, but it's about getting that grip down. If you're off that line, of course, that line is now appearing on that dryish line. But if you try and go for an overtake, you've got to make sure you've got the grip and the confidence, because you know, you come off that line at this stage, you know, you're gonna lose downforce very quickly.
Exactly. Again, comes down to the contact patch that I was talking about on the formation lap. Obviously, cars go round. We've got 15 cars still running. They're doing lap by lap. Those tyres are pushing the water out of the way. That's drying up that particular section, the racing line of the circuit.
Oh, Curse on the inside of Phantom, and I tell you what, how are those two drivers still going? My God, Kirsten driving very, very aggressively out there right now. He had a bit of a moment at the start of the race with Will Witchell, and he's got a bee in his bonnet. He's going for it. He's going around the outside of the Williams now. Can he make it stick? Is he going to keep it there? He is, and he's still there. He's absolutely going for it. It's the Mercedes. It's Curse. It's two drivers in about 3 corners. But I tell you what, that Williams is saying no, thank you. I will fight to the end. Will Sloshy defend? This is absolutely incredible, Zach.
It is still side by side, neck and neck between the pair of them. The Williams on the inside, it turns to the outside though, and it's roles reversed. Curse now has to dance on the inside. Sloshy tries once again to go to the outside, just about has the grip, just about has the acceleration, but a 3-second time penalty. Still side by side between the pair of them. Great respect shown into the final sector of this circuit, losing a ton of time, but still battling over 6th. Sloshy able just to edge himself ahead.
My God, Zach, that was a great display of attack and defense from both of these cars in wet conditions. You've got to say, that was absolute magical stuff.
Yeah, great respect shown between the pair of them, as I say. It takes 2 to tango, whether you're attacking or defending. You have a part to play. I think it's not over. Round 2 coming up between the pair of them, in towards turn number 1. Curse, of course, now on the left in the Mercedes, looking to go to the outside, but instead, no, actually, he's going to say, you know what, Zach, I'm not going to listen to you. I'm going to go all the way around the outside of not 1, not 2, but maybe even 3 corners, as Sloshy just about is able to give him the space on the outside. Has to back out going into the next left-hander. Here comes Phantom to get involved. Dances his way to the outside. A retiree in the pit lane. That's a banana. The McLaren of Phantom, though, 2 wide, 2 deep. As they run their way into the hairpin. The Ferrari of Will Witchell.
My God, Will Witchell has found some grip as well. And this battle has now created 5 drivers. Look at this, battling it through in the wet. But at the minute, it's Curse on top. Finally getting through on that Williams. And I've got this driving from these guys in these conditions. Great respect, like you said, and just great entertainment.
It is. They're bringing the heat that obviously Forest and Carson don't want to give us. They're out there racing. We've got Walpole making up the rear end of this train just about as well. Sile out there testing the full wets, although I don't quite think it's bad enough to warrant that. Slapbus and Auster, they're just separated by a second for the battle for P4. Keep an eye on the gap between Vyers and Carson though, because that's only 1.7 seconds and it has been closing since about lap 3 when Carson was able to find his way back past Auster properly. Sloshy losing the place to Carson, now losing a lot of ground. Now he's having to display similar defensive prowess versus Phantom, who's going to be looking to left-hand side into turn 1.
Yeah, some great stuff from there. Yeah, just going on to that gap there between Flores and Carlson. It was at 2.1 seconds. It went down to 1.5. But it's now, well, there you go. It's down to 1.5 again. So over a few laps, at this stage, it's looking like Carlson has got pace. Whether or not Flores is in fuel-saving mode or, you know, just protecting those tyres in case of any safety cars, I don't know. There's a little bit of a slip there from Sloshy on the exit of that turn, has put him under a little bit of pressure from Will Witchell. Will Witchell has kind of found himself a little bit, shall we say, just taking his time to get used to the way his car's handling in these conditions, but he's looking quite punchy out there now.
He is, yeah, up into 7th place, down 1 place relative to where he qualified, but he's finding his feet and starting to take the armbands off so he can swim a little bit further up the field in that planting horse. The red, of course, the Ferrari, the team that everyone really wants to drive for. Side by side, you've got Goblin versus Sloshy. That's the fight for P9. The Alpha Tauri finds his way through, albeit Sloshy, as good as his defense was, you're not going to be able to last the entirety of the race distance. By battling with Curse and losing all that time to Will Witchell, to Phantom, to Goblin, he's gone from a potential P6 to now 1.5 seconds off the rest of the top 10. He's now under pressure from Walpole to not even be inside the top 10. You have to argue yourself, was it worth it for 2 laps of maybe keeping 6th when if you just dropped to 7th, you'd still have a gap to the rest of the field?
Well, I'm going to answer for us commentators and us consumers watching this. I'm going to say yes, but for his tyres, probably not.
No, absolutely not. For his tyres, for his obviously position as well, his time, he's lost a lot of it. He's lost positions, he's lost track time, he's lost a lot out there on circuit purely because he tried to give us some entertainment. Not complaining, we loved it. But for his race, not great. And again, you know, for us entertainers, all right, you know, for us to entertain this race, Forest Vyers, if he slammed on his brakes for a little while, Carson to catch up. Great race. But it wouldn't be for Forest Vyers. So he's obviously making it boring by trying to stay as far away from that Aston Martin as possible, because right now, obviously, fast lap goes the way of Carlson. The gap in the championship will drop to 8 points, which will still see it firmly alive going into Catalonia in a week's time. So it'll be interesting to see how strategy allows this race to unfold.
Yeah, so battling from top 10 all the way down. From 6th all the way down to the 10th place. Very close, but they've settled themselves in 9 laps in now on this stint. But yeah, the gap there is now 2.7. Has there been a bit of a mistake there from Carlson, 2.4, or is it just Forrest just enjoying the fact that he's out there? 2.4 seconds, like I say, he's crucial that he keeps his championship alive for himself. He's going to stays like this, is like I say, it's going to go down to that last race, and of course safety cars can be an issue here as well. With it being wet, anything can happen. Luckily so far the drivers have respected each other and will give us some great racing, but we are waiting to see what Carson can do. But at the same time, don't write off his teammate. Nathan Clark is within DRS zone, however you don't get it, but he will be definitely in that slipstream now.
Yeah, he'll be feeling it. Of course, with that comes a slight bit of dirty air, and, of course, riding on board with him, you'll see a little bit of spray. Not overly affecting you in the F1 game, don't get me wrong, but it's still there, still can be distracting. But the bottom line is he is closing that gap, and he could well be putting some pressure on his teammate. It gets to a point, obviously, for Nathan Clark, he's fighting for P3. There are prizes that come with that. How much is he willing to sacrifice for the sake of his teammate's championship? Because, I mean, they've been great teammates all season long, giving each other slipstreams, help each other through team orders and such. But at the end of the day, you are driving your own championship for yourself. And, you know, for Nathan Clark, you've got to be selfish.
Exactly. That's the way I'd be looking at it. He is fighting the likes of Slapbus, who is 10 seconds behind him at the minute. But like I say, safety car can bring that back. Slapbus is right behind him. Of course, Curses, after that few laps there of struggling with Will Witchell, he's got himself back up to 6th place as well. So he's still amongst it as well. And like I say, a safety car in this race could definitely spice things up a little bit. But yeah, 2.9 seconds now. Flores in front, really showing himself out there in these wet conditions.
Yeah, he's in his element, really. I mean, we saw it at Spa, which, by the way, this is the 5th wet race of the season. I forgot to count Spa. But obviously, if it wasn't for that late puncture, could well have won it. Of course, that did in the end go to Carlson. Interlagos last week, he was able to win the race, doing really, really well. So Flores has got the wet weather dynamic. Sloshy, at the moment, doesn't.
No, had a bit of a spin there. He's got the car underway again, but down in 13th place. With penalties as well. Fair few guys with penalties. We forgot to mention the track limits here at Portimao can be quite treacherous, as you see. Not even halfway through right now, and I would say half the grid, almost half the grid, have got time penalties already. Very strenuous and strict on these track limits here at Portimao, and that could be crucial as well. Like I say, if we see a late safety car, keeping it clean, keeping it on track limits, could definitely make a difference here. And let's be honest, Flores is not partial to a 3-second or 2.
Yeah, exactly. He's not immune to it. I mean, neither is Carlson, but he does a slightly better job week in, week out of minimising his penalties. There is a lot of runoff. I say a lot. A couple of opportunities for you to exceed track limits here at Portimao. And with it being wet, the car's not going to be completely under control 100% of the time, which it makes it easier. You know, you get a snap and you run wide, or you bail out of a corner and you go wide on exit. Track limit warning. You get 2, and then you get the penalty on the 3rd, and that's 3 seconds. You add that over 33 laps. Very easily, you can gain 3, 6, 9 seconds worth of penalties, just like that. Also, I know Walpole has DNF'd, but again, another proof of it. It's wet. It's a straight line entry to a pit lane. And you have to treat it like a braking zone, and it's difficult to make sure you actually stop on time for the pit speed limit. So again, not only have you got track limit penalties to contend with, you've also got speeding the pit lane ones as well, which in the wet, everything gets exaggerated.
Does indeed. It's riding on board with Bumble Goblin, Will Witchell. Still battling away. Bumble trying to find a way past the Ferrari. Ferrari doing a great job at defending at the minute. But Bumble is looking like he's getting a bit impatient. You can see that rear end just getting a little bit wobbly, but they are actually catching Curse. Now remember, Curse actually pulled away a little bit on this group, but now you've got Will Witchell who's dragging Bumble along with him, and now you can see the pace difference here between the two. Has Curse damaged those tyres that much with the battling he did earlier on in this race? And as you can see, these group of 4 are starting to come together again. Ouster comfortably in 5th place as it stands. 1.4 is the gap to the guy behind him in the Mercedes. And still, Flores, 3.2 seconds, then 3.3 ahead of Carson at the minute. Still managing that gap and doing a great job at it.
Exactly that. Of course, 1.7 ahead of Curse, and that's the fight for P5. Then you've got Will Witchell, who's had a huge snap of oversteer off the exit of turn 4. On the run towards turn 5, Goblin's going to have a look to the left-hand side, slightly offline, which does allow Will Witchell to be slightly later on the brakes. He's going to try and hang it to the outside. The AlphaTauri, not with an infinite amount of grip, pushes him wide a little bit. The Ferrari, though, able to keep his foot in, fights his way through for P7, once again able to defend that position quite nicely. We are approaching the halfway point, of course, on lap 16. We'll be just about there, probably exactly lap 16 and a half, so probably about 6 or so minutes off the halfway point of this race. Will Witchell able to, as I say, stay in 7th place for the time being. Rain doesn't look like it's letting off, though, anytime soon. I mean, these drivers might know differently. Maybe it's going to be the case it stops in 5-10 minutes time, whatever that might well be. But strategy, is this going to be a plain sailing Inters to Inters race, or could we see it drive towards the end really start to spice things up? Either way, Flores Fires does not want to give himself any position to be caught off guard, and that's why building such a good gap early on is going to be so invaluable for him.
Nathan Clark then now within 6 tenths until the exit came to his teammate, pushing him along a little bit there. is the other Aston Martin driver of Nathan Clark. Like you said, fighting for that third place. And it's really on the back of Carlson. Carlson not enjoying himself. Are the tyres are going to that pit window? But like you say, is it forecast to stop raining? Are they pushing these tyres to the limit and maybe going for that one stop onto the slicks? Or are they just trying to maximise these tyres to get the one stop to work here with the input?
Who knows? Only they will.
Yeah.
But yeah,
shame we don't
Carlson
have
not
that info, isn't it?
No, yeah. I mean, why would a simulator give commentators information that they need?
Shocking, right?
Why
would EA do that? With the guys telling them year in, year out what we need in the game to make it more fun for us. But no, it's fine.
It's not just EA. In the wider world of sim racing, ACC, they hate commentators. They hate broadcasters. They give us no information whatsoever, and we have to, piece it together and figure it out ourselves. There are some sims, iRacing, Race Room, that give you a lot of information, but when it comes to broadcasting, not a lot of attention to detail is given, which is a shame. Hopefully that will, can improve and would be better. But yeah, with ACC, my biggest grievance with it is the gaps don't update live, they update sector by sector. So you could be looking at a battle that's long gone, but then you look on the timing tower and they're separated by half a tenth, and you think, oh my goodness me, they're really close. And then it's like, well, they're not. Or the opposite, you could be looking at a battle on the timing tower and think, oh, they're a half a second apart, nothing's going to happen. And then you cut to them and they're midst a battle. Broadcasting is fun. I'm glad I only have to talk about it rather than actually deal with it. It makes my life a lot easier.
So Bumble then picking up another 3 second, pushing those tyres to the limit. As we're now starting to see the drivers go off that dry line, or dry-ish line, and trying to pick up a little bit more of the wet, just to cool those tyres down. The guys are starting to struggle out there for grip. And I think we've seen their Bumble on the straight, as you may see again. Drivers now starting to pull off that line just to pick up a little bit more of the water.
Maybe so, yeah. Of course, the slicker the race line will get, the harder it's going to be. Well, the more frictions they're going to be, right? Because more of the tyres touching the track. Sloshy's had another issue through turn 1 and 2. So the tyres are going to overheat. It's easier to overdrive them as such. With it still raining, I would say there is probably still a substantial enough amount of standing water on the circuit to make it viable to stay on the racing line. But if you've got a moment on a straight, yeah, absolutely, pull over, cool your tyres down a little bit, bring them back into an operable range, especially if you've had a spin, because it's so difficult after you've had a spin and then you have to get back to driving quickly. The tyres, they don't ever have an opportunity to cool down, so it might well be worth just pulling over and having it on the straight. Though neither Goblin or Witchell taking to the slightly wetter line.
Here we go then, the Alfa Romeo of DLI is going to make him a little move to the inside. He's right on that rear diffuser of the McLaren of Phantom. And a safety car! Ladies and gentlemen, it's Sloshy out of this race! And it's a safety car! Wow, that spiced it up, Zach!
Yeah, well, let's see what the time is going to be. Floris now heading into the final sector. No-brainer, really, for him to come in and pit. Who's going to be reacting first to the safety car? Who's going to react at all? I mean, we're basically halfway through. By the time we get back going again, probably looking at lap 17, already halfway through. Surely you come into the pit lane for a fresh set of inters, even if it dries up in 10 minutes time. At least then you've got some fresh tyres. So I think what this is just going to be a grid reset. We're going to go back again with a rolling start, and Forest Fires, Carson, Nathan Clark, they're all going to have fresh tyres. The important thing for Carson is a good start.
It definitely is, and that has really spiced this up. Carlson then with a 5-second gap behind Floris, and that is now about to be 0 under safety car. So Floris has to do it all again. He's got to reset himself. He's got to not panic and have a really good start off that safety car. Carlson now has an opportunity here, but it's going to be a double stack for the Aston Martins. Could that cost Nathan Clark?
No, barely. That was well orchestrated by them. I've got to say, I think Nathan backed off a little bit just to give him that room. Probably only lost a second or so, which you'll still see him in third place on track. Beautiful stuff. They're making the double stack work. Of course, Forest Fires will reassume the race lead. everyone in though, as well, it's a no-brainer. Fresh set of tyres to the end, and away you go. And that'll be interesting to see what Carson and Nathan can do for the rest of the race, trying to attack Flores.
And that's it. Well, you've got, look at it, you've got two teammates in second and third, but don't write off Slapbus. Now, I'm not sure, these guys do have VCs available to them for team voice chat within the Discord. Whether or not they're in them or not, I know Nathan and Carson seem to be pretty linked up on that. But I'm not sure Slapbus and Flores are. Now, of course, Flores is going to be wanting his teammate to really get amongst these Aston Martins, try and upset them, because two Aston Martins against one Red Bull, as you see in real life racing, can be quite difficult to work with.
Definitely can be, especially when, obviously you've got so much tension around you, so much pressure around you. Cass, by the way, has just left the session, so hopefully he can find his way back in as soon as possible, so we can, reassume control of his car, get back on it. Pricey, did he come in on the... He didn't, so Pricey stayed out for whatever reason, obviously climbed up the order to P5, but why hasn't he pit?
Is it going to dry up? If he hasn't pitted, is that an indication that it's going to dry up?
I mean, it's a risk, but again, it's a safety car. It neutralises the race. He was in P12. I suppose maybe, he was in P12.
No, he's coming in. He's coming in.
And gets 5 seconds.
Oh, dear. Okay, so, I think everyone's pitted. Pricey got the strategy a little bit wrong there. We had a bit of an excitement thinking, is he going for the dry part of this race? Is there going to be a dry part? I don't know. Sloshy, high on emotions right now, and not enjoyed himself out there at all. Bringing out that safety car, but not happy with his own performance or whatever went on. 12 drivers remaining in this race. Lap 17, we're going to be underway this lap, start of 18. And it's going to be interesting. I'm going to let you take this one, Lucky boy.
Much appreciated. Should be in this lap. It all depends on Pricey. Sile rejoins the track. Cass is back in, by the way. That's great. Alster doesn't like this race at the moment. Turn 1, understandably. I mean, it is obviously with it being so fast downhill and in the wet. Naturally, it's going to be difficult. And with the flashing lights still on the safety car, you've got Flores versus Carson. Of course, Flores, he's done this many a times. He knows the show. He knows what he's doing when it comes to the safety car restarts. He knows how to control it. I mean, it's something that he's done plenty of times. He can do it in his sleep, basically. Question is, are we going to have the safety car in this lap? Or are we going to be going again? There we go. Safety car is going to be coming in this lap then. Flores immediately slowing down. Sile is released to sort of lap the field as such. But lap 17 of 33 about to go on to lap 18. And Flores Viers in control of his own destiny. He needs to right the wrongs of this championship and find a way to win this race. He's driven perfectly. We get back underway. He puts his foot to the floor and gets this race going once again and has caught the rest of the field by surprise. Beautifully done by Flores Viers. He's been able to command the start, build the gap before the first corner and leave himself with plenty of margins. Will Witcher versus Curse. They're battling away going into, or Yojo, I should say, going into turn 1. The Ferrari gets the upper under Curse versus Goblin as well. That's the battle for 6th. The Mercedes finds his way through. The two Aston Martins very, very close as well. But most importantly, it's Flores Viers that leads Carson and Nath Clark. Still 1, 2, 3 as they were. And Flores Viers still commanding this race as things stand. He needs to rebuild that margin that he had over stint 1.
Yeah, great start from Flores. Got the jump on most of the field and already pulling out a fairly nice gap with just 1 lap into this restart. Carlson's got a bit caught out there. Very unusual from Carlson, but great job from Flores.
Exactly that. He's moved his way forward quite nicely, been able to find his feet back into the swing of things, making the most of those fresh tyres. And right now, he is building that gap. Of course, no DRS, understandably. Still very, very wet out there. But if he can get out of that second range, that's firmly out of the pressure zone of Carson. Still not enough to afford a mistake, but just allows him to breathe, relax a little bit, settle back into this race on his own terms, rather than being forced into it by Carson. As things stand, Carson versus Forrest, the gap will be 8 points in the championship because of Carson's fastest lap. So, across the line, Forrest Fires takes that point away. It is going to be going down to 6 points in the championship now as things stand. So Forrest Fires doing all he can to give him the best stepping stone going into next week.
Slight contact there with the McLaren and Red Bull. Red Bull going defensive. Oyster had some great pace down the straight, but the Red Bull stays ahead for now. What's the damage? Doesn't look like there was to his front ring, but Oyster looking very racy, wanting to get into that top 4.
Of course he does. I mean, he had an amazing initial start and is now trying to sort of replicate that here for the safety car restart into 5th, trying to put some pressure for 4th, but understandably under a little bit of pressure from Curse, and also combating a 3-second time penalty to go with it. So, not got luck on his side as such, but if anyone can do it, I'm confident Alistair can, even though he's miserable out there, even though he hates turn 1, I'm sure he'll still be able to bag a decent result. Nathan Clark still on the back of his teammate, but now they can see Flores Fires. Is that more of an incentive to get after him? Because one small mistake from the Flying Dutchman, and Carson is right back onto things.
It is indeed. A bit of a gap shown there from the top 3 down to Slapbus. Slapbus struggling for pace out there to keep up with his teammate. But it's kind of separated the battle here. Don't forget, Curse is in that fight for P3 in the championship as well. He's got to try and clear these two. He's got to try and get ahead at least one of them. Slapbus on Nathan Clark to keep that 3rd place alive for the championship. But he can't afford to be stuck behind these guys too long, as the gap is just increasing for those top 3.
I mean, they're the 3 quickest drivers on track, and they're growing and growing that advantage. Just trying to isolate themselves really from the rest of the pack. Slapbus leading this train with Alistair behind. He's going to be hoping, of course, that Curse gets involved, put some pressure onto the McLaren so that Slapbus can get away. If that isn't the case, Alistair will be getting after him, putting some pressure on him himself. Curse, though, pulls out to the left-hand side, tries to get the move done into the hairpin, goes in way too deep. The up and under is there from Alistair. It's all about the straighter exit, and that is going to go the way of Alistair. A little bit too eager, though, to put the power down, and Curse finds his way through into the top 5.
Curse then gets one job done. Does he have the pace to get onto the back of Slapbus now and get a move? But look at the gap between those top 3. Nathan Clark doing a great job to stick with these two. He's having an incredible race out there today, and you can't split these guys with a second. This is brilliant stuff from these 3.
Yeah, it really is. Flores Fires, half a second clear of Carson, who's half a second clear of Nathan Clark. Right now, we're probably not going to see much in terms of overtakes because Flores Fires, 60% of ERS, both to attack and defend with. Carson, staying with him, has used a lot more of his battery reserve. Nathan in the middle between the pair there on 40%. So, Carson needs to either get track position and defend like hell, or sit there, stay with Flores Fires, charge his battery up a little bit before he's able to go for a move, or just sit there, be in his rearview mirror. That is pressuring enough, especially for Flores Fires, when today is the day that he rewrites his championship. If he wins this race with the fastest lap, it's winner takes all in Catalonia. If Flores Fires wins today and wins in Catalonia, he's the champion, and what a recovery that would be. Carlson, though, is still the one with the advantage, has the opportunity to wrap things up today. However, yeah, we'll also be still feeling the pressure, because what of a bottle that would be to lose the championship after such domination.
I know, and how good of a teammate is Nathan Clark? Because I've got to say, Nathan Clark looks a little bit quicker than his teammate out there. Of course, 33% of his ERS, just happy to sit behind, but he's right on his teammate's diffuser. Carlson seems like he's using everything just to keep up with Flores at this stage.
He is, yeah, and I would argue maybe Nate Clark is the better car to lead the charge. I'll be honest, he's got more ERS in pocket, he's staying with his teammate, he's staying with Flores Fires, and his pace, not that bad whatsoever at all. In fact, his fastest lap, not that far off the top 2. Of course, Vi's putting the quickest one in, but I'd say consistently, Nath Clark might well be quicker than Carlson, although we did just see a bit of a hefty mistake from him, so not really backing up my point too much. But it might be worth the Aston Martins to swap. Who knows what Nathan Clark could bring to the table, getting revenge on Forest Fires for stealing the win literally at the last second in Interlagos.
Indeed, Nathan Clark doing very good, an incredible job out there as it stands. Like I say, a few little mistakes here and there, but of course it is very bad conditions out there today at Portugal, and it's already a very challenging track in the dry. Put a bit of wet and standing water on the track. These guys are in full hyper-focus mode just to keep these 4 wheels facing the right way, lap by lap.
8/10 is the gap. Carlson, like we said, using everything to stay with Flores, whereas Flores just looks like he's out on a Sunday drive. The wet weather really is where that man comes into his element. Of course, we saw it at Spa, we saw it last week at Interlagos. He is rapid in these environments. Whatever it was at the halfway point of the season, probably after Silverstone really, where we sort of said to, we were saying to him, we were thinking his strategy hasn't been top form. Something has changed and he's flicked a switch and he's been gaining and gaining and gaining points. Carlson's DNF in Saudi definitely didn't help, but Interlagos last week, today, this week, he's driven better than Carlson. He's driven quicker, more consistent, better strategies. And that is what's going to allow him to at least have a fighting chance going into that final week. He's writ the
script.
he's changed it. He's redeemed himself.
And talking about the season, like you said, Flores has had a little bit of bad luck. From time to time, he has created some of his own bad luck, but like I say, after Silverstone, he's kind of knuckled down. He has put the pressure on him even more, but he's doing a good job at trying to keep this championship alive and be the guy that he is, an XF1 esports driver, and put his stamp down. Carlson, though, incredible job this season so far, currently in second place, holding on to the back of him right now as we see the Mercedes of Kurse trying a little move around the outside. He has caught up to Slapbus, dragged a couple of cars with him, and Kurse now, he's got the guy who's challenging for 3rd place in the championship to contend with.
A tough ask. A little bit of lag going on between the pair of them as well. Hopefully going to be no major issues there. But of course, Kurse, he's not had a bad season either. He's fighting with Alster for P5. Right now is going to be gaining points, but the McLaren is right there able to put some pressure on. Of course, Slapbus is the only one in this train without a penalty, so that's the advantage already going the way of the Red Bull, and he could be gaining some decent points for his championship. However, not enough to gain points on Nathan Clark, who's up there in P3. So that gap is going to grow, and Nathan Clark's consistency really going to be helping him in the latter portion of this season. On to lap 24 then of 33, just 10 to go, and well, let's bring it for the final sprint to the finish.
So the Red Bull then going ultra defensive. Kurse not having the extra speed going into turn 1 to get close enough for a move, but does get a nice exit. Can he have a little dip to the inside? No, he stays, goes a real wide. Try and open up that exit on the turn as you see an incline up the hill, and this is where that rear end really does struggle. You see the Mercedes just having a little bit of a tank slapper, and it's so hard to get the grip down over the crest of the hill. Down they go, and he's looking a lot quicker and a lot more aggressive, but the Red Bull doing a good job just keeping it calm and not getting put off by the pressure from behind.
That's the important thing. Maintaining composure more than anything is a valuable asset. Again, like I said in qualifying, you don't have to be the quickest driver out on track to finish the highest. You can be just the better driver. Keep your composure, manage the gaps, make the most of penalties, keep consistent, just positioning the car in the better way. Right now, if Kurse got ahead, I would bet money that he would gain maybe a couple of a seconds gap in the span of a couple of laps. But Slapbus is doing everything in his power to make sure that doesn't happen. So much so that now Kurse has stalled his momentum. He's under pressure from Alster, who stalled his momentum under pressure from Goblin. Yoji in the mix as well. What Slapbus has done is created this environment where things can very easily go wrong behind that will then allow him to build a gap himself. He's feeding Kurse, Alster, Goblin, Yoji to each other, to their own sort of pack of wolves as such, and he's now potentially in a position where he could run away, maintain that P4 and gain some good points. The gap at the front though, Forest Fires, he's, well, not waited around for any pack of wolves or played any tactics. He's just going to allow the two Aston Martins to battle out themselves.
Yeah, I think Nathan Clark has decided he's had enough, and he's going to try and take it to his teammate. You've got to give it a little bit of, what's the word? Almost like, not fear as such, but like the dominance that Carlson has sometimes actually can affect your confidence within yourself of like, am I good enough to be battling this guy? And of course, that does have an effect on your mindset. But Nathan Clark out there now, seeing the gap pull away here on a 1.3 to Flores, is he now building that confidence thinking, no, do you know what? I am in it for this P3. I want this P3. Yes, I'm teammates with him, but actually, I haven't got good pace here. I'm feeling the grip. I could actually win this race. That's what I believe Nathan Clark is about to do. As we say again, commentator's curse has a little bit of a slip up there on the exit, which kind of stopped his momentum bit. But if he just gets that exit on that last turn, right, I genuinely believe he can make a move. Saying that, he does try a little put Carlson off a little bit, but like I say, he just had a bit of a tank slapper on that last corner. If he gets that right, I believe he could definitely get ahead of Carlson.
Both of them draining themselves though, 6% battery, 10% for Nate Clark. So, of course, they are using all of their resources against each other rather than the greater objective that is Forest Fires. But yeah, I mean, you will get a bit of imposter syndrome. Everyone will do that. But at the end of the day, you are in that position because you are a good driver, because you deserve to be there. And it doesn't matter who they are, whether it's Carlson or Max Verstappen. If you're racing them, that is the only person you can see them as, is a competitor. You can't idolize them. You can't put them on this pedestal because all you're going to be doing is undermining yourself and your abilities. And the moment you undermine yourself and your abilities, you make mistakes. You allow weaknesses in. You don't go for that do or die move that could define your race because you're scared of what could go wrong rather than hopeful of what could go right.
Exactly that, and there's a little top tip for all you sim racers out there. top tips from Zaki Boy out there. Look at that, brilliant stuff. So this battle's still heating up. Curse still behind Slapbus, but yeah, like you say, Slapbus backing that pack up a little bit and doing a great job. Like you say, is the only one out there at the minute without any penalties, and he's just having a great time out there. He knows those top three have just gone. As you see, 12-second gap from the restart. Whoa. These top three have really gone for it. But what are we doing about there? What have I missed?
Carlson, 3-second time penalty.
Oh, there you go.
And, well, Nathan Clark, he doesn't have to do anything, just has to sit there. And if he, well, it depends how nice Nathan Clark wants to be, whether he drops out with 3 seconds to allow Carlson to have the position, or, which I think that might be the case. He doesn't seem to be driving particularly quickly. But if Carlson does lose P2 to P3, it's then going to drop the championship battle, of course, to just 3 points.
Going into the last race, holy moly! That next week is going to be crazy if that's the case. That's going to be off the hook. What a way to have a finish. And tell you what though, Curse having all sorts of problems. Bumble gets ahead of him down the straight, goes a little bit wide, and is now under pressure from the Alfa Romeo or the DLR. Just managed to stay in front, but Curse is still struggling out there for grip.
I mean, they all are. It's wet. But yeah, him also. He's, not having the best of times. Let's put it that way. Really struggling with the car, which at the start wasn't the case. He was dancing around the outside of people like there was no tomorrow. Abel, really, I believe it was on Swashy going into the double right-hander that we just saw there. He was able to find his way past beautifully. Whatever reason, maybe lighter fuel loads, maybe there's a bit of damage, maybe he's dropped the front wing a couple of clicks in the pit stop. I really don't know. Maybe he's just losing confidence, lacks that consistency. Either way, yeah, he's down to P6, struggling with the conditions, under pressure from the Alfa Romeo Sauber, of course, of Yoji. Auster just in behind, lap 28 of 33 though, and Forest Vires has no intention of slowing down. Side by side here as Cass gets overtaken once again.
Yeah, great little overtake done. Is he going to slip back on the inside? Yes, he goes for it. Does Curse going really wide, and they're still side by side through here. The Mercedes taking it to the Alfa Romeo and not giving up that position, defending absolutely incredibly, which has now left Oyster round the outside of the Alfa Romeo. Can he get that position? Alfa Romeo was trying to fight to get ahead of the Mercedes, has now lost another position. Oh, and they slightly touch, and there's polystyrene everywhere as Oyster goes through and manages to get his car under grips again. Holy moly, that could have been a lot worse.
Could well have been, but able to keep it all under wraps. Still a little bit twitchy though, as they battle their way to the double right-hander, able to keep it pointing the right way on track, which does help, funnily enough. But still in that fight, 6, 7, and 8. The gap at the front now less than a second. Nathan Clark outside of 3 seconds.
Yes, interesting.
Penalty. So either way, it wouldn't really matter. What I'm concerned with is Forest Fires. What's happened to him to lose nearly a second of track time to Carlson? Has he had a second with a pace?
Yes, I was concentrating too much. Before Nathan Clark got the penalty, he was already within 3 seconds. I'm thinking, oh, Nathan Clark has actually been the teammate of the century here. Of course, picks up a 3 second himself. Flores Fires, however, if he is on his last warning with a few laps left to go, Carlson is right in amongst it here. Of course, he's going to win on track at this stage with no penalties. But if Carlson now could put him under pressure, force him go a little bit wide, it could be game on here.
Could well be. You never know as well. Carlson could appeal those penalties, like we've seen Flores do a couple of times this season, and get it removed. So for Flores, he never knows what could be the outcome. The only surefire way to ensure that you win is to do it on track. So he's going to want to do that. And obviously with that mistake, he might be a little bit shaken. Whatever was the cause of losing that time, you'd assume it's a mistake. He needs to get himself back into rhythm.
Once again, it's absolute carnage! Oh, the McLaren and the Alfa Romeo come together. Oh, that's so unfortunate. A slight touch of the rear. The Alfa Romeo goes round into the wall, and that is a DNF. Oh, that's such a shame. Unbelievable. That has got to be heartbreaking. In some great points was our reserve driver of Jolly. And that just slight touch there on the exit of the McLaren is just spun him round and aquaplaned into the wall. And that is his race over on lap 30. All that hard work unfolded by just a slight touch. And that's racing at times, Zach.
Yeah, that's the harsh reality. It's indiscriminate. It doesn't matter if you're winning, losing. Max Verstappen or Logan Sargent, it will absolutely come to bite you. Cass as well, retiring from the session in the pit lane.
Interesting. That's extremely interesting from Kurz. Only 8 drivers remaining in this race with 3 laps left to go. I don't really understand or know whether or not he maybe got a puncher. Are we in puncher territory again?
You'd think not, because they effectively did half of the race on that initial set of inters. They did longer on their first stint because the safety car came out on lap 16, or lap 15 I should say, and they were on the same set of inters there. No one had punctures, no one had issues. So I don't see why they would.
I'm not sure if Kurz had to drop out of the race for personal reasons or something, but very unusual to see that sort of retirement in a great point-scoring position. But of course, this is sim racing; it's not real life. And of course, if something comes up and you have to leave, I'm guessing that's something that might have happened. I'm not sure. Maybe you run out of time on something. I don't know. But very unusual retirement there from Kurz, and it is such a shame because he was in a great point-scoring position.
He really was. Was going to be, of course, looking to get a decent haul today. Not the best, obviously, with penalties, and we did say he was struggling. But at the end of the day, it's still points are points, especially in a championship this close. Only 4 points behind Alistair coming into today, and was looking to maybe only lose 1 or 2 to the McLaren, and that still would have put him in good stead going into the final round in Catalonia in a week's time. That 31 of 33, 2.5 laps left to go. Forest Fires leading Carlson by just a second ahead of Nathan Clark, who of course is about 6 seconds back on his teammate. Carlson though, I mean, it's do or die, really. I mean, right now, he goes for the move on Floris, and he keeps or extends the gap to 21 points, and effectively sort of seals the deal as such. What we've got here, because of course, you know, at the moment it's a 14-point gap in the championship, because there are 7 points between P1 and P2, you've got a 14-point swing. Either it's a 7-point advantage to Floris, and as such, of course, Carlson then loses 7 points, or it's a 7-point advantage to Carlson, and therefore it's a 7-point advantage to Floris Vyers. In that range, you've got 14 points to play with. So this could either be a 21-point lead or a 6-point lead for Carlson, based on 1.1 seconds.
Exactly that. Carlson then in P2, 1 second behind, but with time penalties. Bumble in 5th place, looking to eye up Slapbus. So got to give it to the Red Bull drivers, the only drivers that are on track at the minute with no penalties. A lot of retirements in this race, which just proved, whoa, Slapbus getting a bit of a tank slapper there. But yeah, it just goes to prove how hard of a track this is at the best of times. A lot of retirements out there, but fair play to the guys that are still out there on the penultimate lap. But a hats off moment there for Slapbus and Floris, going the whole race without any penalties with 1 lap to go.
Yeah, respect to them. It's difficult today. Of course, there's still a lap for things to change. But yeah, they've done a brilliant job, both Red Bulls. To be fair, the entire field that are still racing, I mean, we've lost half of them. Of course, Curse down to Oliver James, they've all DNF'd. 3 of them barely were able to do a lap on their tyres before they were out of the race. With Witchell and Style after the... oh no, that, of course, no, that's not the case, because they came into pit stops, changed tyre, then retired. My bad. Either way, a couple of them were early in their pit stop, in their DNFs, a couple of them more recent. Either way, it's been a race of attrition, and there's 1 lap left to go for Floris Vyers to negotiate.
Yeah, Floris Vyers then controlled from the front, put it on pole, and he's had a safety car restart, managed that well as well. He's managed his tyres, he's managed his track limits, he's managed the pressure from Carlson. He's got a lot of VRS left compared to Carlson as well. He's just had a great race out there today. Hats off to him as well. The pressure that's on him, with only, like I said, this race and next race to go, if he finishes this, we're not going to say too much just yet on that front, but if he finishes it, it really does excite this championship into the last race. He's just been unfaultable out there today, hasn't he?
He's just been untouchable. Nate Stark gets himself another 3-second penalty. Will that lose him any positions? Could well be close. So yeah, no, he's fine. Which yeah, is fine. So he's going to keep P3. Another podium for him. Carlson versus Floris Vyers, close into just half a second. I don't think there's anywhere near enough time for Carlson to find his way past. So Floris Vyers is going to take this to 6 points in the championship with 1 round to go.
Here we go then, it's Floris Vyers. Floris then comes around the last bend here. He takes it. He takes the championship to the final round. Floris Vyers with a checkered flag. And my gosh, we've got a race on our hands next week. The points down to 6 points. He needed to get that today, and he performs at the highest of levels. Congratulations, great job.
Yeah, Floris Vyers, that was insane driving, well negotiated, well composed, and an important victory. Of course, with the fastest lap of a 1:27.179, will also take an extra point. So not only he over halves the gap in the championship. It's from 14 to 6.
Fantastic.
Which means next week, if Floris Vyers wins, he takes the championship. There's nothing that Carlson can do unless he takes fastest lap and wins on countback. But the bottom line is, Floris Vyers, a win next week, and the championship his.
A win next week for Carlson. The championship is.
Yep.
Next week, it is an absolute showdown, ladies and gentlemen. Not the most exciting of races out there today. The rain scampered a lot. We've had a lot of retirements. But Floris got the job done that he needed to get done to keep this championship alive to that final race. And as you see it confirmed out there now, he gets the win and fastest lap with a 1:27.179. Carlson had no answer for him today, and it was second for him today. today. Nathan Clark, Slapbus, fighting for that P3 in the championship. Nathan Clark ahead of Slapbus, crucially moving on to that final race. So it's all to play for next week, Zach.
It is, yeah, everything on the cards. Of course, the fight between Nate Clark and Slapbus, that's also very, very close. Whether that will change is as well also there.
We've lost Cam.
P3, that is the gap for them. And, well, we will see how they get on in a week's time.
Indeed, we will. Just lost your cam there a minute, Zach. We'll get you back. And, of course, we've got the podium interviews yet to come. Flores, Carlson and Nathan Clark. So do not go anywhere. We're going to see if we can get Zachy boy back. Yes, we do. There we go. He's back. And we'll meet you over into the interview room where we will be doing the post interviews. Well, what a race. Fantastic. I'm so excited for next week, Zach.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, it should be sensational. Obviously, we've got Forest Fires here. Take it away, Patty. I mean, it's calm and composed all the way through, I suppose.
It was indeed. Flores, congratulations, mate. The win and the fastest lap out there today, which closes that gap to 6 points going into this last race. It's all to play for next week. You must be ecstatic with that result.
I am ecstatic, but I don't feel ecstatic because I'm quite ill at the moment, or not feeling well at the moment. It's got a week to recover, so that's good. But yeah, actually the safety car came out at the perfect time because we could fit on new tires. And then I thought, like, the first 2 laps need to count to Carlson having the fastest lap. So I needed to drain my ERS on the first 2 laps, which I did. Got the fastest lap, then settled back in, and then rest is history. Won the race, led every lap, fastest lap, got pole, won. So Grand Slam in the pocket.
Yeah, it was a very dominant race out there today, showing exactly why you should be an F1 esports driver once again. But like I say, Carlson is the one to be out there. He's got that gap. It's still 6 points lead, but it does take it to that last race. How do you approach that now, moving on to it?
Just winning next race, that's all. If I win the championship because I've got more wins. And even if he gets the fastest lap, I have more wins. So just winning is all I need to do. And I got the championship.
Yeah, so anyway, like I say, absolutely unfaultable out there today, Flores. It really was a pleasure to watch in those tricky conditions. You managed everything. Like I say, the Grand Slam, you had the qualifying lap, you had the fastest lap, and you managed it, especially with the safety car restart as well. So it's absolute fantastic job. With all that pressure on, you look calm, composed, and you got the job done, and it all goes down to next week. For us, it's going to be one hell of a belter for it, so thank you for that. And we'll move on to next week. Carlson then gets P2 today and had to settle for second. Carlson, how do you feel with that performance?
He's not here.
Is he not here?
No.
Oh.
Okay. I can act like Carlson.
Sorry, I assumed Carlson was in. Normally he comes straight in. If we can get a tag for Nathan Clark and Carlson to come in, that'd be fantastic.
I can tell you for free, Nathan's not coming. He's a busy boy. He's got his tea.
Oh, he's got his team. Wow. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Well, Nathan Clark, though, going on to Nathan Clark, obviously he's not here for the post interview, but, you know, he is fighting for that P3, isn't he? And you know, doing a job out there and keeping up with the likes of Carlson and Flores Fires, which, of course, you know, these two have been fighting back and forth all year. So to be that close to them guys at the end as well, it must give him some confidence and obviously to secure that P3 because there's prizes here in this championship. And, yeah, no, credible job from him. We're going to see if we can get Carlson in, guys. Just bear with us and see if we can. But if not, it is Flores taking the double Grand Slam with the post interviews as well.
Yeah. Well, the only one to show up, so that's always a bonus. But yeah, it would be nice to have a chat with Carlson. Obviously, his perspective of things, because as I say, the big 14-point swing that they had, he's just confirmed he can't tonight, which is a shame. So Flores Fires, well done, mate. You smashed the interviews once again. But the thing is that he came in today 14 points. He could either have gained 7 to make it 21, but instead he's lost 7, so it's now 6. And in that range, there is
8.
8?
Yeah.
But you got fastest lap.
Yeah.
So you've gained 7 plus. So you gained 8. So it's now 6 points in the championship. Is what I'm saying. So
let's have a look at the standing there. So, sorry, I got the wrong ones up again. Let's have a little look at those standings here. So at the minute, after Brazil, it's 153 points to 139, which is 8 points, right? Sorry.
So he's gained
maths.
8.
He's gained 8, but the points difference between the two
is
were
6.
No, before 153 to 139. 14. He's gained 8, which leaves 6. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're 6. So 6 points. That is a win and fastest lap, and it's yours. That's what we're saying, right?
Not even just the win is enough.
Oh, because have you got count back? Have you?
Mm-hmm.
I have more wins.
Interesting.
So if Carlson basically wins and gets the fast lap, I still win the championship due to the fact that Nathan won in Austria instead of Carlson.
If Carlson wins, he'll win the championship.
How?
Because he's 6 points ahead still.
How?
He finished second today, and he's still. So you got first, he got second. So he's still. The gap goes down by 8 points, which leaves the gap at 6 points. So if he wins and you come second, he still wins, doesn't he? He gets more points than you.
If he wins,
That's what Zach was saying.
The thing is, I just need to win. That's my task now. Next week, and if I don't, then Carlson just needs to crash out.
Okay, let's see how that goes for next week. Ladies and gentlemen, it was a terrible conditioned race out there, wet and just horrible conditions, but it was Flores that kept it together, did the Grand Slam, smashed it out there, and he takes it to the last race. Ladies and gentlemen, you can't go anywhere. You've got to be there next week, Tuesday, 7 p.m. UK time. It is down to that last race. It's going to be incredible. Thank you very much, Flores. Congratulations on the win. And thank you very much, Zach. Great job as always. And we'll see you guys next week. Thank you very much all for watching Tuatara Championship. Last round next week. Let's go. Goodbye. God bless.